Hello and welcome to the We Are Power podcast live from our fantastic We Are Power studio. Every week I get the chance to speak to some of the most amazing role models from all over the country, and beyond, to be honest, different sectors, different levels, different paths, different adventures. And I get the chance to have a bit of a catch up and a bit of a chat to find out what they're up to, with a hope to pass on some of those top tips and advice on to you as you listen to your pod. And this week I am delighted to be joined from the wonderful Northeast by Stevie Mclaren, who is the Employability Partner at Newcastle Building Society and also the chair of the Newcastle Building Society Women in Leadership Network and one of our future list from 2024. Stevie, welcome to the pod.
Hi, Simone. Thanks so much for having me. It's lovely to see you again.
Oh, it's brilliant. And it's brilliant to see you virtually if I can't get over that way, but I'll be over that way soon. We're doing a great event in the Northeast with the brilliant Kerr McGuinness in November. So we'll see you over there then. Now, your career has all been about advocating for female empowerment and social mobility. Talk us through your pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say I never planned it, which is probably terrible advice. But I think throughout my career, I've always wanted to play to my strengths. I've always wanted to add value and have an impact. And I think whilst I didn't plan the career that I'm in, I don't think I could do or would be doing anything else. I think women have ultimately shaped who I am today. I was brought up by a single mom. I've got an older sister. I've always had and still do have very strong female friendships. I've always had predominantly female managers who've massively, seen my potential and created some fantastic opportunities for me. And I think that has driven me, to want to empower women in every aspect of my life as well. So through having those really important role models and that network around me and, my lived experiences, I guess, has probably shaped a lot of that.
You're the chair of the Women in Leadership Network at the Building Society. What have you seen as the barriers towards women progressing? And equally, have you smashed them down or advised people to smash them down?
Yeah, I think sadly that, there's still a lot of things and barriers, facing women today. Gender bias and stereotypes is still a big thing. The perception of women in leadership roles impacts that. Work-life balance is a big thing. There's still societal pressures to manage both career and family responsibilities, which can impact career progression for women. And there's still that big expectation to take on caregiving roles of family or, managing, elderly family members as well. And something that we've kind of advocated for internally within the Building Society is equalised parental leave. So smashing down some of those societal systemic barriers that impact women and breaking down some of those stereotypes and trying to balance out some of those caregiving roles at work. So the burden isn't always on women. I think there's also a lack of representation of women, particularly in financial services, in some of those leadership roles, which creates a bit of a cycle. There's fewer role models for people to sort of see. So massively with the Women in Leadership Network, that's so important for us. We're constantly showcasing, highlighting females, getting them to share their career stories and really tell us, what have they tried? What are their tips? And it's always just the basics, but it's really nice to hear it from other people, to recognise it in others and go, oh yeah, I'm facing some of those challenges as well, yet they still overcome them and I can too. So I think those are some of the big things that we see, particularly, as I say, in financial services. A lot of that, the role model aspect is really important.
I think we talked so often, don't we? If you can't see it, you can't be it. And we talked about the barriers. What are you most proud of achieving through your role and your time at within the Women in Leadership Network?
That's a good question. I think I'd say one of the proudest things is that we just exist, because not a lot of people get the opportunity to be part of something that I think is really special, and to chair that is a massive privilege. So I think the fact that we exist, we have a huge audience who are, a captive audience. They're listening, they're coming every week, every month to talk, to share, to learn, to engage, and to really drive change. And I think to work for an organisation that advocates for that as well and invests in that is really important to me. And that extends to the work that we do with the communities as well. So externally, we've partnered with SmartWorks Newcastle, who are a fantastic charity who support women getting back into the workplace through confidence, job coaching, clothes. And we do a lot with them in terms of just, fundraising, but awareness raising as well. So the impact that we're having, not just on our colleagues, but the external communities in which we serve is really important to us.
Is that platform to enable you to do more? And I agree, I totally echo. I love the work that SmartWorks do across the country. And I know the brilliant Sophie Milliken and the team over there, and Sarah Davis, chair over there, is brilliant, the work of SmartWorks. You talked about one example of working with SmartWorks through the Building Society. What can organisations do? Because we always want to pass on some of those top tips. You've talked about people coming week in, week out and swapping and sharing knowledge. What can organisations do? Because sometimes people think it's got to be massive, big things, and it doesn't always have to be.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? I think it's the marginal gains, the little things that you can do that have the biggest impact. And I think organisations need to just get a little bit curious about the things that are happening within their workplaces. So if there's women who aren't progressing in your workplace, why? If women aren't applying for your roles and your jobs, why? If they're not part of the decision-making process, why is that? So I think it's really challenging yourself and getting a bit curious, because we can guarantee it's not because there's a lack of capability or motivation or potential. It is something that's possibly part of, your frameworks, your processes, maybe it's your culture, something that you're just not seeing. And I think if you're getting curious and you're seeking to understand and you want to learn about, well, actually, why is that? What are potential barriers that we were not aware of that we might be putting in place that are actually prohibiting us from reaching a huge amount of talent and untapped potential, especially in the Northeast. I think we've got so much untapped potential in the region. It's scary, and I think employers have got to take responsibility for that. People aren't just going to be, coming to your door and, advocating for themselves. We've got to go out, we've got to target these people who are, from low social mobility backgrounds. And I feel really fortunate that, as a society, in the new role that I'm in, that employability partner, that's a big part of what I do. We have to work with the right strategic partners externally to tap into these marginalised groups and show them and give them confidence, build their aspirations, give them the skills to be able to really, not just get a job, but get a career and thrive. So I think organisations have got a big, big part to play in that. And I think we could definitely do more together.
I think when you're passionate like yourself and myself about this, gender equality, social mobility, then you can never do enough, can you? You always want to do more. And I know you're also the chair. If you didn't have enough to do alongside your day job and your side hustle, you're also chair of the North East Chamber of Commerce Future Leaders Forum, and that's key, isn't it? We've got to focus on the future, on that talent pipeline as well. How did you get involved, and what are you proud of driving there?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this was an opportunity that was presented to me through a manager of mine, again, a real female manager who just put me forward for anything, was like, you're going to do this, no questions asked. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. So just through that advocacy, was part of the Future Leaders Forum and chair that now. And it's a real great opportunity. We are representing young professionals in the region, and it's a great opportunity that we get together from loads of different sectors within the region, sharing and learning from each other. But we can also feed into policy updates through the Chamber and the activity that they're working on. One of the things that we're focused a lot on is apprenticeships and how they're not utilised enough. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. We spoke to so many apprentices as part of our research, and they stumbled upon these opportunities. It wasn't as if they went out actively looking for them, which I think tells, the employers something, that the marketing them better and targeting and reaching the right people. But also there's still a little bit of a stigma around apprenticeships that are there for tradies or people who weren't good enough to go to college or university or whatever that might be. And that's just simply not the case now. I think schools need to do a little bit more in terms of how they promote and advertising them. And for young people, education just isn't the right environment for them, or that, that's not where they're going to thrive. And if people want the opportunity to earn a wage and get qualified and, start their career, then that the apprenticeship piece was something that we focused on massively and took that back to the chamber and to take back to employers to ask them the question, what are you going to do differently? This is what people are saying. How are you connecting people in our region to the opportunities that you've got? Because there's lots.
Because sometimes you don't see them, and we've talked a lot today about advocating for others and how you've been given opportunities. You equally want to afford other people opportunities, and that sometimes is within our superpower, isn't it? A gift to pass on those opportunities and open those doors and help people. But how can individuals advocate more for themselves? We feel sometimes awkward about doing that. The awards which we created with the sole aim of encouraging people to high five their achievements and themselves. But how can we do that more? How can we make it okay to advocate for yourself?
Yeah, it is a tricky one, isn't it? Because I think for some reason, it might be a British thing, we just don't like doing it that much. But I think the reality is, results don't always speak for themselves, unfortunately, and self-advocacy is really critical to success. And I think it's something that women in particular really struggle with, shouting about and sharing our achievements. But successful women know how to do it, and they know how to do it well, and they own their strengths, and they might feel a bit awkward about doing it, and they might, it's not the most comfortable thing to do, but they still do it. So I think there's something around, really owning your strengths, seeking opportunities. Opportunities don't just fall into our laps. We have to ask for them, and we have to get over the uncomfortableness of asking for those opportunities. And I think something we talk a lot about is having really clear shared career goals. Again, something I think men are a little bit better at, around having a career goal that's clear, but equally it's shared and everybody knows about it. I think we need to be better at that. And if you're not sharing and you're not thinking about the long-term goals that you want to achieve in your career, and you're not bringing the right people in, you're not going to get the help, and you're not going to get the support or the opportunities, the right development to help you get there if everything's a well-kept secret. So it's a bit uncomfortable, it's a little bit awkward, but it's a massive part of advocating for yourself and achieving the goals that you've set out.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because you don't think of it like that sometimes. You just think, I'm not going to say anything till it's kind of in the bag, or it's going to happen, because I don't want to tempt fate or stuff like that. But actually, it's important. Otherwise, you can get stuck in your career or get lost as to where you're going to. Sometimes you just got to be comfortable, like you say, being uncomfortable, haven't you? That's the advice we need to give, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I think you've got to build confidence in yourself to be able to do that, definitely. And confidence comes from action. If you're not doing anything, that stillness breeds a bit of self-doubt, unfortunately. So you're not going to get confident until you're doing the things that you're not confident in. It's a bit of a vicious cycle, but one that you've got to really just kind of trust yourself in. As I think that comes back to knowing your strengths and knowing what you're trying to achieve, and that is your North Star, and that'll guide you to where you want to be.
And what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would probably say, don't wait until you're in the role. Don't wait until you've got the qualification. Don't wait until somebody else says you can or you're good enough. You've got to just take the chances while you can and figure it out along the way. Because I think what I'm starting to realise a little bit more now is that's what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is just saying yes to things and figuring it out when they're doing the doing. So I think it's about, never let your doubts about your own abilities undermine your faith in your ability to learn, because that's what we're all just doing. We're all learning all the time, every day. So I think, don't wait, just say yes and figure it out along the way.
It's proper Northern, isn't it? Just crack on and do it.
Yeah, just crack on. It'll be all right in the end.
And your career thus far has been very much passionate about giving back, paying forward, creating opportunities, taking your own opportunities, making them along the way. What's next for you, Stevie?
Well, I think I'm going to keep learning first and foremost. There's lots of things that I don't know and I want to know. In that knowledge is power type thing. And I really want to use that learning to have a positive impact on people in the Northeast and beyond. I want to keep asking the challenging questions to drive change. And I think that means challenging myself as well as others that are around me. Saying yes to this podcast was definitely challenging myself. So I'm challenged out for the year on that front, I think. But I think you've got to keep learning, you've got to keep challenging. I'm really going to try and drive the change and take every opportunity that comes my way to do so. So I think, I've whilst I was terrified about doing this, I've really enjoyed it. And so, thanks so much for having me and giving us a really great platform to be able to drive forward some of those changes and help me grow as well.
And in our fantastic studio as well. And what I would say to you is don't let this be it for the year. That would be my throw to you, Stevie. That would be me to you. Go seek out another opportunity to do this, because when you've got passion and when you've got that drive, it's contagious. Someone else will take away from this. People always come back to us with comments. And Stevie, I thank you so much for joining us today, bringing your whole enthusiastic, passionate self into our podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It was lovely to see you. I've really enjoyed it and all the best. Thank you so much.
Oh, and thank you. Please keep the conversation going. That's why we do these podcasts, so that we can pass on those top tips, learnings, those tote bag moments, those t-shirt slogan moments. We know that Stevie's given us a load of those today. So we thank you so much for joining us. Please do keep the conversation going on all of our socials. We are power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. We are power on LinkedIn and Facebook, and we are _power on YouTube. There's a lot of info out there, but it's all in the show notes, so it's all good. And watch us now. All of our podcasts you can watch, you can listen, you can get them wherever you get your podcasts, but please watch us too on YouTube, Apple Music and Spotify. And don't forget to leave us a review. And we thank you so much for joining us. Please stay connected on everything that we do via our digital hub, wearepower.net, and put the date in your diary for the 6th of March next year for the 9th Northern Power Women Awards. My name is Simone. This is the We Are Power podcast, and I'm delighted to host you today.